Let's take a look at Dogecoin, or Dogecoin as I like to call it. So can Dogecoin break $1? Well, that's a loaded question. Let's break that down and kind of go through some scenarios here. First of all, let's take a look at Bitcoin. Why Bitcoin? Well, because Bitcoin's the cryptocurrency that every other cryptocurrency should be measured against. I'm not going to get into the specifics of blockchain. You can read about that. You can have your own opinions. The idea that Bitcoin is going to replace the US dollar is ludicrous. If you think it is, you don't understand how the financial system works. Bitcoin has no proper method of valuation. There's no discounted cash flow to take into account. There's no dividend payment. If you're stuck with Bitcoin in a downward cycle, there's nothing you can do with it. It's a payment, and when people talk about its value, it's measured in what? Dollars. So is it worth more than $1 trillion? Well, its market cap says it is right now. Frankly, I think it's the largest Ponzi scheme in American history. A legal Ponzi scheme, that is. And the reason I think so is because you have people like Elon Musk and Mark Cuban and other prominent people who are basically hyping it up and building it up when there's not really any true value other than what someone else gives it. And, you can say that alone constitutes value, but I don't when you consider that ownership in equities such as stocks have cash flow, they pay dividends, or they reinvest earnings, and they have tangible ownership in a company. Not the trip stocks that we cover, of course. That's more speculative in nature. But I'm talking about legitimate blue chip stocks. Now, the biggest thing with Bitcoin, there are big fees at play for providers such as PayPal, Coinbase, and many other different places where you can buy and sell Bitcoin and other cryptos. And now I know that sending person to person, there may not be some fees associated with it. But if you go on some of the prominent places and buy Bitcoin, some of them do charge a fee. So let's look at Dogecoin versus Bitcoin as kind of a comparison. Again, I'm not going to get into what's practical, the differences in blockchain and all of that. You can nerd yourself out too much and over analyze things that aren't really relevant to this discussion. But Dogecoin has name recognition, and not versus Bitcoin. I'm talking about versus other cryptos. There's tens and 20s and hundreds and thousands of cryptos out there, and I can't name half of them. I couldn't even try. But Dogecoin's easy to remember. I mean, it's got a picture of a dog on it. I called it Dogecoin for the first, I don't know how long, first couple of weeks when I'd heard about it. There's a ton of hype. It's a trendy name. You've got, again, celebrities, other people like Snoop Dogg coming out and talking about it. And the big barometer is, ever since before the Super Bowl when it got big, it's still kind of sticking around. There's Reddit pages, there's Facebook groups, there's Discord chats. It's all over Twitter. And that's one thing to go by. How many people out there are hyping it? Can it have some staying power? I think right now we're kind of riding that crypto wave. A lot of cryptos are doing well in this environment, I imagine, just because Bitcoin's doing well. The fact that Tesla put $1.5 billion into a cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin, you could make a whole nother video talking about that. Elon Musk is a very smart person. I won't get into this, that, and the other. He's obviously a very smart, very intelligent person. He knows what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows that if he puts money into this and hypes it up, other people are going to do it. And there's nothing illegal about it. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing considered manipulative. The regulators, that's another video I could get into, but he's a smart person. He's not an idiot for buying something as useless, in my opinion, as Bitcoin, but he knows what he's doing. And the crux of my argument, all this other stuff to the side, it's about relative valuation. Bitcoin is valued at just above $1 trillion if you look at market cap. And for those of you that have asked in the past, how do you come up with market cap? It's the 18.6 million coins in existence right now times $56,000, the approximate price about an hour ago or so, and that fluctuates. It fluctuates a lot. It just broke $50,000 not too long ago, and it's already at 56. By the time this video uploads, it could be 60, it could be 50, I don't know. But again, this is ballpark. These numbers fluctuate. I don't even know what this exact calculation is. This was just what I pulled at the time when I got a quote. Dogecoin right now is 5.5 cents. It gives it roughly a $7 billion valuation. So Bitcoin is presently worth 142 times more than Dogecoin. Again, it's not the raw number, because there's a lot more Dogecoins than Bitcoins out there. So you have to take that into consideration when you think about relative valuation. The market cap is the only thing that matters. Again, that's kind of like saying 4 quarters versus $1. There's 4 shares, or is there 1 share as in $1? Well, it's worth the same thing if you put all 4 together. So that's how you have to look at relative valuation. If Dogecoin were $1 per coin, Dogecoin would be worth over $125 billion. Again, $125 billion, that's only 1/8 of a trillion, which is Bitcoin's current market cap, or total value, however you want to call that. Again, 125 billion is only 1/8 of a trillion. So this doesn't consider new coins being minted. I know some people will look at that and say, well, there's some inherent inflation in that, and, Dogecoins aren't worth as much. Yeah, that's true, but I've seen figures that calculate that as a couple of percentage points, 2, 3, 4%. I don't know exactly how. Look, if something moves 6%, 7%, 10% in one day, I really don't care about 2, 3% in what we would call inflation. What is 2 or 3% if you can do that in one day? It means absolutely nothing. So Dogecoin, again, this is a quote I pulled. This one is right about 5.5 cents. I wanted to look at a 5-year chart before I kind of got into Dogecoin and looked at it. And the one thing you'll notice, it's been around a while. I had never heard of it till a couple of weeks ago. But apparently this started as a meme, and you can find out the history. It was a joke and so forth. But this over 5 years old. So if you go back, there's a little run up here. This is sub-penny. This finally broke a penny, and then it went back down. And it actually had a cool-off period. It was its own little mini bubble, and then it burst and kind of came down. Then we really had a mania phase, and by mania, I mean, it almost got to 2 cents, and then it blew off, just like our mania chart before. And then you see that a couple years go by. And then what happened? Another big one here, right? This is just like the mania chart. It's up, it's down, it's back up, and then it came back down. So, it's possible. That could have been it with Dogecoin. It very well could have been. I'm not going to pretend to know that that was it and Dogecoin will never go higher, or it will go higher. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. If we look at a shorter term chart of Dogecoin, again, we see it's gone up, down, up. Was at the top? Nobody will know. There's a good number here, and I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to go above or below. We got a nice bounce off of that. It's coming back down and testing it. If we break down below 5, you've got a lot of downside potential. At the same time, this could be a good entry point. Me personally, I got in Dogecoin around this 5. It was right around here when I got in it, and it went up and then it gave it back. So I'm about even right now. So I know people personally that were in at 1 or 2 cents before I'd even heard about it. And this is one of those things where I don't like to get into something once it's already taken off. But at the end of the day, you don't know for sure if something is at the peak cycle or not at the peak cycle. So let's look at Bitcoin as kind of a case study. Here's Bitcoin. Here's your awareness phase. And then here it is dropping down. And it lay dormant for a while. And then it had a little run here and it did nothing. And then here's your example when you talk about Bitcoin as the world reserve currency. Another reason it's a joke. I mean, when the COVID crisis hit, equities sold off, Bitcoin sold off, commodities sold off. What did they sell off to? They went to the dollar. They went to the safe haven. They didn't go to Bitcoin for safety. They didn't go to gold for safety. They went to the US dollar. They went to treasuries. So again, everything got hammered here. And then we've had a recent run up lately. I remember looking at this just kind of for fun, because I've never messed with Bitcoin in my life, and thinking, okay, right here, this could have been a top. And then what happened? Tesla bought it, and it shot up. So just because you think technicals are one thing, there's things you can't see coming, like Tesla announcing all of a sudden pre-market open a couple of weeks ago that they bought $1.5 billion in cryptocurrency. It's absurd. And again, you can make other videos. That's another discussion we can have. But technical analysis and charting is not everything. It's just one tool, and it's the simplest tool. It's the quickest thing you can look at and get a high yield snapshot of what's going on, but there are many other things out there in the big picture. And so the verdict with Dogecoin, I'm not here to say Dogecoin is going to go to $1. I'm not saying it's going to go to $5. I'm not saying it's going to go to anything. What I am saying is nobody knows. Anyone that pretends to know is lying. I look at it risk reward. I believe best case, this could go above $1. Best case, it could go to a few dollars. Best case, 10 years from now, it could be $10. It's very possible. Worst case, it could go back below a penny or two. And that's possible. So the way I look at it is if you put some money in it, whatever you think you can afford to put away, treat that money like you're not going to do anything with it. Let it go. Worst case, you lose it all. Could be a couple $100, could be a couple $1,000, depending on your situation. You might lose every bit of it, but you also have a chance to make 10, 20, 30 times your money. And so that's the way I look at it. People are out buying penny stocks right now, and a lot of these penny stocks are caveat emptor. They're suspended stocks. They're defunct companies. They're dark. There are so many red flags, and people are doing it, jumping in because they don't understand. At least Dogecoin stands out in a class of its own. It's a cryptocurrency. It's trendy. It's got a lot of people, celebrities hyping it. It's one of those things where it could go cold for a couple of months, could go cold for a year. And then overnight, it seems it could blow up and make new highs. And that's a scenario I could see. I could see it potentially, if it doesn't run anymore in this cycle, cooling off, staying down at a penny or two for a month, a week, several months, and then potentially making another run. So personally, to me, it's worth the risk. I'm going to buy some, and I'm just going to forget about it. I'm not going to necessarily try to trade it. If it drops to a really low level, I might buy more, but I'm not going to get excited. You can't just jump in and buy more when it goes up. You got to pick the amount you want to put in and let it ride. And me personally, I've put money in. I've decided it's worth the risk, and I'm just going to let it ride. So that's all I've got for Dogecoin, Dogecoin. Make your own decision what's right for you. This isn't financial advice. This shouldn't be construed as anything like that. Obviously, Dogecoin has risks. It's not a security. It's actually deemed property by the IRS. But again, this is not specific financial advice. This is just my opinion of how I see it. You got to do your own diligence and make your own decision. And we'll see you next time.